Hey everybody, this is my friend Geoff.
Hi.
Geoff used to be my TA. He also then went to work for the State Department in Russia and now works for the Pentagon. So he's like even more connected than I am.
Well, yeah.
Definitely. In fact, you know, if he's the in-law, I'm definitely the outlaw. So anyway, Geoff, I have a question for you.
Okay.
As you know, I always have questions for my students, but now that I've got an expert on the line here, you know, I'm sure there's a burning question that my students probably want to know the answer to. If there's a #1 public enemy right now, it'd probably be like Al-Qaeda or something like that. It's really who the government really wants to stamp out at the present time, right?
Well, that's true.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, before Al-Qaeda, I was just wondering who that was, and if it was a concern then, would it still be a concern today?
Well, in an answer, in 3 words, the Russian Mafia.
Wow, the Russian Mafia.
The Russian Mafia was
so,
public enemy #1.
Why would we be so concerned about the Russian Mafia? I mean, I just thought they just like existed like in James Bond movies and stuff like that.
No, they're very much part of our world right now, and they haven't stopped being, even though Osama's been getting all the attention lately.
Oh, so you're saying that just because one threat comes along, then the other one doesn't go away?
I'm saying that
Whoa.
even more so, they're probably taking more liberties than they ever used to when they knew they were under surveillance, and probably being policed a little better than they are right now.
Right, but who cares about the Russian Mafia anyway? I mean, they're not dangerous or anything like, you know, like Al-Qaeda is. I mean, we should shift everything to the Middle East, right?
Well, that's the problem, because they are dangerous.
Huh, that makes no sense to me, Geoff. From what I understand, I mean, wasn't there a situation in Russia a few years ago where, I don't know, the Russian government like couldn't pay their soldiers or something like that, and then the Russian Mafia got involved? You know, why don't you tell me something about that? Because that's kind of a crazy story.
Okay, what happens is Russians, they're trying to run their army, and they, like any army, have to live and eat and have their boots and have their rifles to go fight Afghanis and go fight Chechens and everything. And unfortunately, when it all fell apart over there, they stopped having all kinds of money to pay them, because suddenly they just can't print however much money they want, because their money's pretty much useless, and they have to start going by the global economy. And so after everything falls apart and they can't stop paying their military, they kind of forgot that it's the military that's guarding the guns, guarding the RPGs and the rocket launchers, and guarding, oh, by the way, the nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons?
Nuclear weapons.
So in other words, let me make sure I got this straight. So we've got these soldiers, right? And the currency becomes worth nothing, and then we get behind on pay, right? And so pretty much what happens then is that because the Russian government can't pay them, they have to get their money from somewhere, right? And so then these Russian Mafia guys sort of come up to him and sort of said, you know, maybe we can see about slipping some of these nukes your way for a small price, of course.
That's true.
And so they do this, and I guess then what happens next, right? So these guys have pretty much a choice. It's like, feed your family, get paid by the Russian Mafia, hard choice. Should I wait for my check or should I feed my family? I think I'll take the paycheck, right? From the Mafia, I'll take the payoff.
That's exactly right. So it only takes a couple of Mafia guys with a little bit of ingenuity and even less morals to be able to get a hold of a couple of nukes and pay off those soldiers, and suddenly they're able to sell them to anybody they want, interestingly enough. And this may or may not be proven, so that's kind of a scary situation.
There was, throughout the Clinton administration, a program in which the United States government would buy back used Soviet missiles to make sure that they would not get in the hands of the Russian Mafia. And it was going on pretty strong up until about the first year of the Bush administration, after which, you know, he got all excited about 9/11 and decided buying old Soviet nuclear weapons wasn't that important anymore. Who cares whether or not the Russian mafia gets missiles? I mean, that's scary that they're not in Russian hands anymore, Russian government hands. I mean, what are they going to do with these missiles? I guess, Geoff, I don't understand. Who do you think the United States would be worried about them selling a nuclear weapon to?
Well, of course, Osama bin Laden is the first usual suspect, but there are plenty of others in the Middle East, and even, hey, the North Koreans, they can't get those bombs to work, let's sell them to North Korea. Or, hey, Iran, they want a couple of bombs off the books that they didn't buy from the French, so they buy them from the Russian mafia. The Syrians are pretty much the same. Or, hey, what about those Israelis who want to deny that they have any nuclear weapons, so they buy them from the Russian mafia instead?
So in other words, there is a connection between the Russian mafia and what a lot of American policymakers fear is really public enemy number one, and that is terrorism.
Now, it's not been proven yet, but the fact that it hasn't been proven doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So the fact that it only takes one crazy Ivan to sell a bomb to Osama, it's kind of a scary thought.
Well, thanks for sharing that information with me, Geoff. I think that, we're all probably a lot smarter for it now.
Yeah, you're welcome. And watch those Russians.
Watch the Russians?
Watch the Russians.